How often do you look at yourself in the mirror in the morning, searching for the non-existent flaws? And how often do you feel dissatisfied with your appearance, even though there's no particular reason for concern? People tend to strive for some non-existent ideal, constantly devaluing what they have. However, there are many cases of the most incredible and sometimes sad genetic mistakes of nature, which don't just ruin people's lives, but also deprive them of the chance to change anything. And it is these stories that teach us to accept ourselves for who we are, without making excuses and looking to improve things about ourselves, and continue to live a normal life in spite of our appearance. Anita Sambhaji Raut, from a small village near the city of Pune in central India, never expected to become the mother of the werewolf children. Anita was forced to get married very early when she was still in school and didn't even get to see her future husband until the very day of the wedding. So of course she had no idea he was suffering from a rare condition. According to the woman, her childhood was very difficult. After the death of her parents, the girl was raised by her uncle and aunt, who didn't want her, treated her with coldness, and then simply married her off to this man. Anita had no right to choose. She had to live with this man, and soon she gave birth to 6 daughters, 3 of whom the local press would later dub as the Werewolf Sisters. Apparently, the 23-year-old Savita, 18-year-old Monisha, and 16-year-old Savitri inherited the rare disease called hypertrichosis from their father. The characteristic trait of this disease is that the person suffering from it has thick hair growing almost over their entire body. According to their mother, the girls had increased hair growth from birth, which got even more intense as they got older. At the moment, the girls' faces are almost completely covered with thick black hair. Their eyebrows are extremely thick and long, and not every man could grow a beard like these girls. But even in spite of their unusual features, the girls have the most ordinary hobbies. For example, they love singing and cooking, and of course, trying on beautiful outfits. However, as you might have guessed, the girls endured a lot of insults at school. They were compared to animals. People whispered monkey behind their backs, and it all had a very negative effect on their psychological health. Needless to say, India has a different mentality. People are very traditional, and if a person's appearance is atypical in any way, people try to keep their distance, which forced the girls to hide out at home. The Raut sisters have gotten used to it by now. Of course, their mother understood that things couldn't stay like this forever, because she wanted a normal life for her daughters. So, Anita began to look for ways to solve their problem. But as it turned out, medicine was powerless in this case, and all kinds of cosmetological procedures would eventually make their hair grow out even more. A few years ago, the story of the werewolf girls spread all over the world in literally a few days. The first journalist came to see them and took a series of pictures, which later ended up online. There were many mean and nasty comments, and their pictures were even made into memes. But nevertheless, the sisters tried not to pay attention to any of it and continued living their lives. Moreover, what brought happiness to the family was that the oldest sister, Savita, recently got married. When she was supposed to first meet her future husband, she was so worried that she refused to leave the house, and thus, according to the old Indian tradition, she only saw her husband at the altar. She probably expected the worst, but the groom accepted his bride's illness, and they started their life together, just like any other happy family that had just recently got married. But as the man later said, he was saving up money for a laser hair removal procedure, which cost several thousands of US dollars. What's interesting is that not all the Raut sisters suffer from the werewolf disease. By some strange coincidence, it was 1 in every 3 daughters that was born with this condition. That is, one daughter had hypertrichosis, while the next 2 didn't. Anita employed the help of a social worker and turned to German and American doctors. But to even begin talking about possible treatment, they needed to get genetic testing done in Singapore, and the family simply couldn't afford it. When the family received an invitation to participate in a show on Russian TV, they jumped at the chance to learn more about their illness. Just as it was back home, As they went on their journey, they were constantly greeted by eyes full of fear and surprise. Even getting through customs took the Rout family several times longer than other passengers. The result of the trip was comprehensive testing, which showed genetic deviations, but nothing life-threatening. The other good news was that the sisters' future children were unlikely to inherit the same disease, which allowed the girls to seriously consider starting their own families. And now try to imagine how happy Anita and the girls were when the Russian doctors agreed to conduct the first session of photoepilation. Of course, it's not a radical solution to their problem. They still require another 6 or 7 such sessions, which are quite expensive. The procedure wasn't easy, since dark skin color is more difficult to work with for epilation. The hair removal process was painless, but the sisters still supported each other during the procedure. The doctors who watched them confirmed that the strength of their family lies in their mutual support and care for each other. With funding from sponsors, the girls will be able to undergo the rest of the hair removal sessions back in their homeland, which became possible thanks to the girls becoming famous all over the world. Moreover, there are many kind people in the world, so an Indian director named Sheg Gupta announced his intention to make a documentary about the difficult fate of the werewolf sisters in order to draw public attention to their condition, as well as help them raise the necessary funds for the coveted laser procedure and to find worthy husbands. So, the story of these sisters is still ongoing, but one thing is definitely clear. There are still people ready to support those in need and lend their helping hand.